Back to the DraftKings Run It Up Challenge. I want to. This is actually day. This is going to be day 5. It is Wednesday, December 12th. I'm sorry, Wednesday, December 17th. Day 5 of the challenge. I'm going to try to make these videos a little shorter and really focus on one key aspect each day as opposed to going through the whole process. I think it can be a little overwhelming to some of the followers to carve out as much time as some of these videos have been taking. And I think if I can drill down and spend a little more time on each aspect, it might be beneficial to everyone. So today we're going to just recap last night and then hop into one aspect of today, which is going to be the use of Fantasy Cruncher, which is a lineup optimizing website that a lot of people are using these days to kind of be that baseline lineup for the evening. So let's get right into it. Last night, 219 points is a little disappointing, but we almost got away with it so often. Anthony Davis was good for his 50 points as usual. We missed the big nights of the point guards where we did not spend up. Westbrook and John Wall went crazy. We missed out on Thad Lewis, who went nuts. He was the guy I looked at yesterday and could not pull the trigger on. He lit it up. But overall, we didn't do terribly. We hit on Shabazz Muhammad, who was only... Let's see what his price tag was last night. I want to say it was like $4,300, and he goes nuts for 32 points. So very happy with that call. Monte Ellis didn't need to do too much as the Mavericks blew out the Knicks. So that was a little disappointing. Happy with the output from Marc Gasol. We were looking for just a solid number around 40, and he gave it to us. The problems really came up here, and what happened here is Dwayne Wade played, and Dwayne Wade not playing I think would have really boosted Norris Cole. Sean Williams would have still been in my lineup had I known Dwayne Wade was going to play, because the front court was decimated there in Miami. So Sean Williams might be another good play tonight. But he was only 3,500 and he scored 19 points. So not the end of the world. Where it hurt was Norris Cole, who I was expecting to have great opportunity, only puts up a 10 spot. Bradley Beal really salvaged his night in the fourth quarter. I think he only had 6 points at the half and was really struggling the entire time, just was not in the offense. John Wall completely took over, and John Wall had 22 points in like the first 6 minutes of the game, so Bradley Beal had 22 in the entire game. So not great, but we almost got away with it, and when I say that, you'll see how close we were here. So let's look at last night's games. We're looking at everything from here up, except for the 22K zone. That's a different project. So everything between the layup and this first head-to-head here. So 7 heads up matches, and we won 2 of them. We were really close to winning almost all of them. So we won these 2. Let's just check out the other ones here. We lost by half a point to a guy named Click Clack. That's tough. He also suffered the Norris Cole, but he passed us late. We lose by half a point there. We lose by 14 points here, which isn't really, he beat us fair and square there. I'm looking for here it is. Okay. Basically in every other matchup, we went up against Russell Westbrook, who scored 58 points, and that really hurt. So he was the late game. He went absolutely insane. He scores 58 points, and I think we faced him. We lose by 14, and we went up against him every single time. What was really disappointing was we had Ben McLemore, who had 12 fantasy points in the first quarter. For him to finish with only 17 was extremely disappointing. He is not, I wasn't expecting him to score 48. I wasn't expecting him to score 12 a quarter. but I was expecting him to do a little better than 5 points over the last 3 quarters. So if he could have just paced a little better, we would have won probably 2 more of these and gone 4-3 in heads ups as opposed to 2-5. So that was disappointing, and we were pretty close to pulling a couple of those away. I haven't done the math yet, but the bankroll will drop just a bit. So we were at 94. We're gonna, let's see, quickly lose 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Gonna lose 7 plus 160. Probably lose about 540. Probably be around $89. So that's what we're looking for on tonight's NBA action. Now let's get to tonight. So there's 10 games on the docket, and these are my projections. And what we'll do is we'll plug them into Fantasy Cruncher. So if you're not familiar with Fantasy Cruncher, it is a website, fantasycruncher.com, that allows you to either use their projections or your own projections to create optimum lineups. So what I have gone through, and just like I do every day, is I go through and I do my own projections, and I upload them into Fantasy Cruncher. And this is something that we touched on yesterday, but I got some feedback where this is a new website to some people, so I wanted to make sure that I really showed off what you can do with it, because this is a pretty neat tool. I actually have a custom tool that I had built for me. I'm not a coder by any means, but I had a custom tool built for me that does this same thing, but now Fantasy Cruncher allows you to do it for free for the moment. So I believe the rumors are that they're going to start charging for this at some point, but for now it's free, so I suggest you give it a shot. So what I've done is I've already gone through here, and I have added in my projections. So all these numbers that you see under the projection column are my own personal numbers. What I did is, since there are so many games tonight, there's 10 games, there's so many teams, and there's so many players, I wanted to eliminate some of the guys right off the bat. So what I did is I took only guys that I project to play over 20 minutes tonight. You know, it's not a big impact, but sometimes it'll get rid of those really cheap flyers that can kind of be a little wacky in these projected lineups. So let's go through it. If you just come down here, we're going to use the projected score, and I really only want to see the top 3 teams. All 3 of them are going to be relatively simple. If you do top 5, you know, it's usually one guy flipping in and out. Actually, let's start with the top team and see what it is here. Okay, so according to my projections, if all these players hit their projections tonight, it's going to be 291 points. So it's got CJ Watson in there, who has been playing really well, for only 5,000. Oh man, Giannis Antetokounmpo, let's call him the Greek Freak. That's a little easier to say. I'm assuming, and I'm not assuming, I know these are my projections. His minutes have been increased because Jabari Parker's now out for the year. So he's been pretty effective this season, and now with more opportunity, more minutes, he projects a score higher, obviously. A couple of Pistons are next here, and I actually like this lineup a lot. I mean, I guess I should. They're my numbers, but this is really interesting. So Jody Meeks was on a limits, and you see what I just did? If you click that, you'll be able to see their scores. Jody Meeks was on a number, or a minute limit the last couple of nights. Yeah, look, 22 and 20. They took it off him. He played 30 minutes last night. Was that last night? The 15th? No, 2 nights ago. Sorry, Monday night, and scored 32 fantasy points. So he is a really solid play for the price, because he's only $3,300. So we're looking for 15 to 18 points. If he scores you 30 for $3,300, you're in business. Really good. Josh Smith, who I'm not a fan of his play. I hate watching him play, but the guy does put up numbers. Let's pull up his stats here. So his floor is a little low for my liking, because he could score you for 8,000 or for 7,900. He could score you 21 points, and it's going to decimate your lineup. But he's relatively consistent. With that being said, you know, in the last 10 or 12 games, he's scored, let's see, over 30 all but three times. He's gone over 50 twice. He's been in the 40s a few times. So he's a decent play tonight. I really like. Go away. There we go. I really like Duncan. Tony Parker and Kawhi Leonard are both out tonight, so I think the offense should run through Duncan. So that's really interesting. Dirk is always a pretty solid play. I think there's a chance of a blowout here in Detroit. Might have to look into these Vegas lines a little bit, but something we can talk about. Marc Gasol is super solid. Love him. And Rudy Gobert is who we talked about last night as far as he's now getting a lot of minutes. Let's see what he did last night. Scored 26 back-to-back games, so that's pretty good. I think I shied away from him because I didn't like him against the New Orleans front court, but overall pretty good. Let's see what they have to say about him. Scored 12 points. This is old, I think. Yeah, it's from November. There's no new updates on Rudy Gobert according to Roto World. So, but let's talk Fantasy Cruncher, and let's talk what these optimal lineups do and how I use them. So this is optimal lineup number one. Well, there's, this is just one of the spokes of the wheel for me. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, this is a really solid lineup. I like it a lot. It's actually a lineup I wouldn't mind rolling out there, but it doesn't end here. So let's actually look at the top three teams and see where some things might change. So the number 2 team, which has a 291 projection, is pretty different. So you have what this is telling you is guys like Gobert, Dirk, Duncan, and Meeks show up in both lineups. So that's that solid core. If you were playing many lineups tonight, and this is a strategy I like to use as opposed to just, if you're going to run out 20 lineups, instead of doing 20 different lineups and covering everybody in the league, what I like to do is I like to have a solid base of 4 guys, or 3 or 4 or 5 guys. So in this case, it would be 4 guys who you could build your team around. So I would plug Meeks, Duncan, Dirk, and Rudy into into every single lineup, and then just change the guys around him. So this is pretty interesting. Chris Copeland is pretty highly touted tonight. I'm not sure. I'm not a huge fan because he's a little reliant on that shot, but he can heat it up. So this is a decent lineup. I don't like it as much as the first one, although I think James Harden could go absolutely insane tonight. So if there was a way to get James Harden into this lineup without completely dismantling it, I would look into that. So it's really interesting to see the same 4 names in both lineups. So continue to go down here. Seeing who those core players are that are value plays are a really good place to start with this. But I want to go a little deeper. So, for example, there might be some guys that you're really targeting tonight. So I was mentioning that I really like James Harden tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock him in. So this means that any lineup that I submit, he's going to be in it. So I'm locking him in. Let's see. There were a couple other guys I liked. I usually like to do this for the higher priced guys because the lower priced guys you can always fit into any lineup anyway, so it's not a huge deal. But if you do this with the higher priced guys, you can really get some interesting plays out of here. Let's go crazy and say you wanted to have LeBron and James Harden in the same lineup. So this is going to be sprinkled with a bunch of lower price guys since they're both so expensive. But let's just run it and see what happens here. Let's just go with the top team. Okay, so this projects out to be 279, and as you can see, you have Harden and LeBron, and then 3,100, 3,300, 3,400. You got to go pretty cheap. Now, what's interesting about this is you were still able to get 3 of the 4 core players that we had in there. So Meeks was a core player, Dirk was a core player, and Rudy was a core player. So now you didn't lose all 4 of your guys, and you were able to add in Harden and LeBron, who are obviously potential massive plays tonight. Now, you surrounded it with Bino and Chris Copeland and Mason Plumlee, so you don't know how confident you are there, but this is just one one thing that you can do here. So let's continue to play away. Let's throw back Harden and LeBron and say we want to get. I mean, let's just you know what? Let's get a little crazy. We'll go LeBron, Harden, and someone else expensive. Let's say Chris Paul. Now this is pretty wacky here, but let's see what it pumps out. Okay, we're down to 256. So we have to surrender to three three Trailblazers tonight. Steve Blake, Thomas Robinson, and Chris Kaman. And for the record, I think Chris Kaman's a really good play. There are some personal not issues. I mean, I'm happy for him, but his wife is apparently very close to going into labor, and we don't know if he's actually going to play tonight, and we don't know if what if it's in the first quarter and he gets a phone call that his wife's going into labor and he's going to leave. So it's actually a funny situation that I would probably stay away from, even though I think Kaman could have a really good night if you knew he was going to play the whole time. So one of those funny situations that you come across that, it's not in the box score, but just to be aware of for tonight. So what this site allows you to do is really just, you can lock in multiple players. You can get rid of players if you didn't want them in there. So for example, let's say we want Rondo. Sometimes I just like going through and clicking these and really seeing what it pumps out, because what I really believe this does is it allows you to see things that you could not normally see. It allows you to quickly do the math on them and pump out your best possible score. So I suggest you check out Fantasy Cruncher. That's really the gist of it. I wanted this to be a quick video where I could get it out. What I'm going to do for tonight is I really like that core four guys that we talked about, so I'll probably have them in a lineup. I might try to work James Harden in as well. So keep an eye out. I'll tweet out the lineup before the games start tonight. Excuse me. I'll tweet out the lineup. Check me out on Twitter. It's under @the DF rankings, the daily fantasy rankings. So check it out. I'll tweet out the lineup for tonight. And then we'll probably be in $8 or $9 worth of games. So check it out, and I will talk to you guys soon. See ya.